episode 457, Global from Asia. We got a little story time about a creator starting his creation, some motivation, and more. Let's tune in.
Welcome to the Global from Asia podcast, where the daunting process of running an international business is broken down into straight-up, actionable advice. And now, your host, Michael Michelini.
Thank you so much for watching, or most likely listening to the Global from Asia podcast 457. We have a great one. Angel Jones, I consider an acquaintance of mine. He interviewed me way back when he was just starting his podcast, and he interviewed me again with an update. You definitely got to check out his 12-minute Convos podcast. And I finally was like, oh, how come you haven't been on our show? I'd love to hear your story, your motivation, your creation. And it's an amazing one. It's not as much Asian now. This is a little bit global, but it's an exciting one where he's building his online business and he's going into the US and then coming back, and he's growing his shows and his consulting, and he's quitting his job. He has his kids. It's a very exciting one. I got motivated by it. It gave me some inspiration. So I think you're going to enjoy this. Let's tune in. Do you enjoy the podcast Global from Asia? Do you enjoy all the community events that we do? The best way to support is coming out to our annual Cross-Border Summit.com in Chiang Mai this November 3rd, 4th, and 5th, 2025. I have amazing speakers, amazing people getting together. We're pushing the limits. We're making things happen. This is where the movers and shakers and the deal makers come. It's a limited supply of attendees and tickets, and we have been selling out every year. So I recommend checking it out earlier, crossbordersummit.com. All right. Thank you, everybody, for tuning into our Global from Asia podcast. We're an audio-only version. I love the audio. We focus on the story, and we have a professional podcaster, and I've been a pleasure being a guest on his show, 12-Minute Convos, 2 times now. And first time on Global from Asia, Angel Jones. How are you doing today?
I'm doing absolutely amazing. I'm excited to have this conversation with you all the way from Trinidad and Tobago.
Yes, it's amazing. I don't think I told you, but when I was in my first job after college was in New York City, and one of the nicest ladies, Laurel, and she was from Trinidad, so originally, and she was in New York City working at Wall Street with me. And she was so kind. I think a lot of people, the culture is in my experience with her and a few others. I think I met some of her friends after work at some various parties. Were very warm, and she was much older. She was I was just in my early 20s, and she was in her 40s or 50s. I never asked her age, but she's always like a little kind of like mom in the office for a lot of others, but especially me. And I really appreciate Laurel. So
yeah, it's interesting what you attract in life, yeah, because warmth seems to be something you're following consistently.
Focus on the good. Focus on the good. There was some rough ones on Wall Street. I dealt with some pretty rough personalities that shaped our life. Everything is part of who we are in life. So, but let's talk about you, Angela. I know you've done podcasting this for your business as a business almost, and since 2016, and you've grown that. So how did you get started, or maybe even before the content business, podcast business? How did you find your way into where you are? What's the early stage stories?
Yeah. One of the things that really shaped what I did as top of the funnel was something by Zig Ziglar, a Born to Win PDF that's still free. And it basically spells out how you basically map your life where goals are concerned. It shows you mental, spiritual, career, physical, financial, personal, family elements that should make up one's life, where you're checking in with these elements to ensure you have a smooth ride, right? And then, like, after building that, there's a business side. So there's the wheel of life, which is the front wheel, right? With the mental, the spiritual, all of those things are the spokes of the wheel. And if you can have a balance spoke where, let's say, you get 5 out of 5 for everyone, the goal is to get 10 out of 10, yeah? Then you have a smooth ride. And one of the things I am guilty of is focusing on one thing and not the other in life. And then on the business side, interestingly, there's sales, administration, leadership, operation, and marketing. And when we were building that out, my wife and I, Amanda is my wife, when we were building that out, the podcast was the lead magnet. And that was one of the things that I put in there. But then there's a side story, Mike.
Awesome.
There was John Lee Dumas. There's
Yes.
John Lee Dumas. Yeah,
Yeah,
there's
John.
I also did Dave Ramsey a lot. Two veterans in podcasting at the time. This is 2015. Yeah, and basically getting well from 2012 to 2015. I'm all into podcasting because I'm getting out of debt. I'm listening to podcasts. Like, I eat basically 4 to 5 hours of podcasts daily, yeah. While working I worked in a laboratory where I tested cement. So I had time, right?
Yeah.
I had listening time. And at one point I thought, if one of the things I didn't like about Johnny Dumas's conversations is I didn't know if the person I was listening to in their pursuit or through their achievements had the balance at the Born to Win wheel of life goal focus talked about. So I thought, hey, if I could have a conversation or have as many conversations as Johnny Dumas, then and focus on that in a very short amount of time, which would mean people would say yes more than no, right?
Yeah, yeah.
That I could actually be or develop the skills he's developed. So that's why in 2016 I set a goal to have 1,585 conversations in 1 year.
Yeah.
Because John Lee must would have been on like 1,582. So I thought I would beat him by 3, right? This is
Yeah.
the younger me. And yeah, that one thing led to the next. It was not achieved and it wasn't easy. I probably did 1,116 in that year. Of those 1,116, I want people to understand how challenging this was. I released the first episode on March 31st because I didn't want to do it on April 1. I
Yeah.
procrastinated all the way through, right? And then I got to 76 episodes from that period to August. And I was going to give up. Visited Dan Miller for a conference. I was going to give up, and I heard the voice, is what I like to call what I heard, right? The voice say,
Yeah.
never give up. Like, don't give up. Like, you said you were going to do this. So I was in Tennessee at the time. I returned to Trinidad, all ramped up to go after this goal. That's where I came up with the 1,509 in 3 months. And I created a Guinness World Record around it. Guinness, after 3 months, they said no, they aren't able to quantify what I'm doing, right? With a 12-minute podcast. I got to 1,001 conversations in 3 months. And yeah, that's where it started off.
I think I love it. A lot in there. Fun fact, my birthday's almost April Fool's, April 2nd. So my
Oh
mom was
man,
my mom was praying that I wasn't the first. I thought it would have been cool, but I would have liked it. But she was happy I came a day later. So, but March
look at that.
31st.
I have a
Yeah.
cousin that's April 1st. Yeah, and
Nice.
it's cool. We always remember that. But April
Yeah.
16th is a big day for you as well, yeah? 2016, isn't it?
Yeah, the Cross Border Summit. We launched our first conference in the community. Yeah. Yeah, I like the springtime in April. Of course, it was the birthday, but the time of the year is fun too. So, so this is nice. So, I love the perseverance here, and I think that's what it takes. The Zig Ziglar one, we'll go right further back. The PDF, Born to Win. We'll find that for the show notes. I think that's definitely a worthwhile one about balance. And I think balance is something you're speaking about it. I definitely try my best to balance. I think the beautiful thing about podcasting and content creation is we can do it mostly anywhere, but I'm at my home office here. Kids just got out of school as we record this, and they're in the other room. So luckily, I can at least pop out and see them. But what we do is a lot of work, especially 1,000 podcasts. I remember I was an honored guest of one and a returning one, but you had a whole system in place and had this all going. But I didn't know about the ups and downs about thinking about stopping. And what was the conversation? Was something you said the voice? I'd love to just kind of dig into that part. I think that's always helpful for people with about that point. You went to the Tennessee for the Dan Miller conference there, and you're thinking about it. What can we dive into that one a little bit more? I'd love to hear some more insights if you're willing or able to share with
Yeah,
us.
sure. There are turning points in life when I honestly do believe in hindsight, that there's this voice that's so loud internally, there's no way that you can deny it. And like in the past, I have denied it and lived to regret it. I believe it's God. I do believe at this point it's God. But I can pinpoint, not just in my life but other people's lives, where they've heard this voice and it feels as though it's the catalyst that makes them decide, this is what I'm going to do for the rest of my life. This is and that's a big thing, because when as you get older you realize the value of life by losing. Yeah, so you
Yeah,
lose people, and
yeah,
then you realize, wait a minute, you're either on the side of, wait a minute, what am I doing this for, if I only have this amount of time, or you're saying, I'm happy I'm doing this, I have that amount of time. And of course, the time is something we just don't know. We can only guess that and hope that the good food we're eating contributes to some form of us living longer. But yeah, that was that voice for me. Again, at that point, I remember vividly Dan Miller's daughter is talking to us about psychometric analysis, and they use the DISC profile, which is a
yeah,
personality assessment test, yeah.
yeah.
And really good stuff. Loved it. Like the first time I did the DISC profile, I was going to a conference again in Tennessee called Entre Leadership by Dave Ramsey's organization. These things are big things for me because I'm a Caribbean guy, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm going to a conference.
Yeah,
It's a lot. Yeah, I'm doing 2 connecting flights, one to Florida. It's the first time I'm traveling to the US
yeah,
after probably almost 2 decades. Yeah, so I was a child, and now I'm getting there. I need to drive. I need to rent a vehicle. It's cold, right? It's September. It's getting cold. There are just so many other things that don't get highlighted in a story, but are happening. Nevertheless, I get out there. But doing the disc profile and meeting knowledge again from the preparation of listening to podcast really puts you on the forefront of what's current. That's been my experience all the way through listening to podcasts and then feeling as though I've hit the highway of information when I begin interviewing or when I began interviewing people.
Mm-hmm.
It's as though I was a decade ahead in my country, yeah,
Yeah.
with the information I got. So yeah, but heard the voice, and I always one of my earliest childhood memories is walking around with a book. I always had something to write on. So I'm at the conference and I have my trusty yellow pad, and I remember just going in there and calculating, wait a minute, if I have to do 1585 and I've done 70, and I'm calculating how much do I have to do a day. And then I was like, yeah, this is easy. I think it was like 7 or 8 a day was the maths, right? And it was,
Mm-hmm.
yeah. But then reality hits because the first month, even though I opened up and just to put things in perspective, if someone asks, well, how are you doing that with a job? Yeah. I
Yeah.
took 1 year to pay leave that year from my
Oh.
job. Yeah. So I had a back injury, and I thought if I could rest for a year, and this is on the back end of becoming debt free and actually winning with finances after almost winning in life, yeah. So the Dave Ramsey thing actually worked. It worked really well, and I was able to put away enough. And my wife was working at the time, so the plan was she would continue to work, and then I would take the year no pay leave, and hopefully with the podcast and the connections, then transition into full time. Again, one of those plans that didn't go the way we wanted it to go, because Amanda returned to work in 2016 after having our first son, our second son, and guess what? He was switched to another department that
Mm.
didn't contribute to the family life being balanced.
Yeah.
And she told me she wanted to resign, right?
Yeah.
So we were met with 2 people with no salaries, right? So
Yeah.
these are things I'm telling you that it's not things that are shared a lot. But once the questions are asked, I'm an open book.
Okay. Well, thank you for sharing with us. Fascinating and scary on the edge of my seat, literally. So, but I say on the show here is we have to challenge ourselves, step out of our comfort zone. It definitely seems like you're out of your comfort zone here. You're taking a day off for your work to do your passion, and you're not giving up. And yeah, you're going to these conferences in the US and you're taking that back to Trinidad. And I'm sure that was because it's online, we can do this stuff amazing anywhere, right? Like we're online on the other side of the earth doing this exact show. But I'm a little bit getting curious now about the story. So she left her work because she wasn't, and so you both don't have the the steady paycheck anymore, and you just had another child. So I guess I'm kind of want to keep digging in here. How did things change,
So
or
we're
yeah, how did things go from there?
So we're into savings. We're living on savings, and then I had this big like this big sale ticket item of a piece of property. I had 2 lots of land, and I said, hey, I would sell one of the lots to be able to at least finance us as a safety mechanism with the income of what I was doing, which at the time was financial coaching on the sideline of the podcast, which was the focus, yeah. But we had all these things lined up as to dos where the conference, because Amanda and I both attended the Dan Miller's conference, but the favor is what comes into the faith walk, because every business person I know, I believe, walks in faith. And when I say faith, I'm defining the elements of yeah, this year I'm going to hit the 200K mark, and you have no clients or you have a handful of clients. It's just this, I guess, the concept of how do I manifest something, yeah, from nothing or a little into a lot. So, yeah, we had none of those things, yeah, and we eventually sold the property on the tail end of the year, and we did what we did before to get out of debt. We lived a minimalist life. My children were always taken care of. And one of the big things in Trinidad that I've had is the support of my family. So my parents, there's a support system, and it's something I haven't seen in the US, and it stuck out to us when we did the journey across the 48 states and Canada. I'm like, it's something we didn't see here.
I
We didn't
agree.
see, yeah, like family, deep family connections that in itself creates support for business models to actually get past that first 5 year, what feels like the hardest experiences you could ever have in those first 5 years. Yeah. So yeah.
Interesting. Yeah, there's a lot here. I have a lot to say here, but I like the faith walk or the walk of faith and the festing. There's a really cool book I'm still reading. My wife, Wendy, recommended I read it. She's pretty deep into Buddhism practice and studying, and there was a book. I wasn't prepared to share it, but let me get the author. Master the Key is the name
Sure.
of the book, and it is by Charles F. Haanel, Haanel. And I'm still halfway through it. And this is one of the few books where I actually have a notebook next to me and I'm writing as I'm reading it. But it's connected to this manifesting, but it's basically almost teaching you how to manifest in a way. But it's basically saying that thought is energy, and thought is creation. And everything starts from your thoughts and in your mind. Of course we see the outer world, but that's still a product of our mind. It sounds a little woo-woo, or some people might have trouble grasping that, but it really makes sense, like to me, because if we don't think it, it's never going to happen. And by thinking it, it's yeah, similar to manifesting it. We sleep on it. Our subconscious mind helps make decisions, micro decisions, every point it can throughout your conscious day to get towards that goal and make that a reality. So that's, I think, my interpretation of what you mean with the walk of faith manifesting, because you're basically setting your mind to it, and your mind will help you find the way if you trust yourself. So that's the one point there. And the second is the family. I actually, it's almost a little bit emotional to me. I'm from the US and I'm in Asia now. I've been out here since 2007, mostly with a few trips back. But I fully agree about the family support. I mean, I love my parents and my sister, my uncles, but it is much more independent and fragmented from what I've seen in Asia and what I hear you're saying in Trinidad. But I feel like most of the other cultures around the world, I think also in Europe, has this more of a family support system. But there's a yin and yang, there's a good and a bad. The point is, though, I fully agree with you on the family support. The family is much more independent in the way in America, at
Mhm.
least in the United States, and of course, there's exceptions, but like you seem to have noticed too, and I feel the same as your family's like, oh, why do I have to help? You're grown up. You should move out of the house, take care of yourself, like, and it. But then the positive side of that is it makes people a little bit, maybe, I guess, more independent and somewhat maybe stronger, and you don't have that net to fall back on, which is kind of scary. But I think they would take you in if you really were on a bottom, rock bottom, a lot of times. But I do agree with you on that. Family support in America, United States, is not as much there as a lot of other cultures, like in Asia. But on the other side of that, though, the negative of the family support is sometimes the family I've seen in China and Asia is in Thailand holds the entrepreneur back from making risky decisions. But maybe that wasn't your case. But I've seen that happen in Asia where the family will really discourage them from taking risks in their career or finances because they support them and they love them and they don't want them to take that risk and that risk of failure or financial property. So I don't know. I kind of a lot there, but I don't know if you have some thoughts on
I
those.
agree. I agree with you. I agree with you. The influences, just like reading the book you're reading, right? The inputs really determine and define the outputs. I agree with you. And I believe, well, two things come to mind. One, the podcast again shows up to be something that really provides you with an opportunity, whichever podcast you're listening to here, with an opportunity that then secondly helps your choice. So one of the things we've built a lot of things, right? And I'm attempting to still speak from the perspective of a time sensitive conversation here. So I'm super summarizing in my mind everything I'm saying, yeah?
Mm,
But one of the things we've built, the first step is identity and understanding your identity. And we've built it in a way that Caribbean people, I believe, will understand it. So the word identity is broken into four words: choices, consequences, results, and intentions. It's like a sound bite, yeah, for a conversation. And you're if I put what you're saying into those boxes, then you can realize, yeah, the family element of support could affect things in any one of those in a way that doesn't give the person the ability to launch out independently. However, changing your identity has been key to your success. And I'm referencing when you put the thought picture in my mind of moving from Wall Street to Asia, right? like when you go from there to where you are, there was a choice, there were consequences. However, you've gotten a result, and truthfully, it always anchors on what was your intention. And for those listening, it's the first step, yeah?
mm.
What truly is your identity right now? And what do you want your identity to be? Because as humans, we have that, if anything, to choose what our identity is going to be.
This is great. I feel like this is the topic of the show now. Choosing this is kind of I feel like the theme of this conversation that we've had is yeah, who are we now and who do we want to be? And I think the sad reality, and you don't have to agree, of course, but I feel like most people don't think about that and don't really become who they're supposed to be, right?
Which is good, which is okay. Like, let's say that, yeah, it's okay. Because it's tough, right? Like, we know it at this time, right? It's tough, Mike.
Yeah,
If someone says no to taking this pill, right? I understand at this point. I didn't understand years ago. I was screaming from the top of the mountain, everyone should understand who they are and make the choice. Yeah.
interesting.
Now, now I'm okay. I understand. But if you do want to make that change, yeah, I'm here to support you. Is my posture. Oh, which I guess it's just the older me now, yeah, seeing I can't, and I don't use can't often, right? I can't change anyone, yeah, who doesn't
Mm,
want to make a change.
that's a fair point for sure. And but it's fun. I guess it's true, right? Like to second what you say is I used to try to change people. My hometown friends, I used to really earlier on in my journey while I was still in New York. I was trying to kind of convert them. Like I thought they wanted to kind of like do what maybe I'm doing or do their own business or find their own way. And how do I say? Yeah, they didn't go that way. Some tried, some didn't try. But I don't even know how to say it. But yeah, I guess everyone, like you said, everyone has their own decisions and maybe they are meant to do what they're doing now. And I was maybe interfering almost because sometimes I'm almost like a little bit, I don't want to say aggressive, but maybe pushy is the word when I first started my journey to have them kind of break out of the mold that life had kind of said they're supposed to go. But that's a good point. We can't force it. And this is a, yeah, yeah, I mean, I've enjoyed being on your show, and this is great to have you on our channel here. But yeah, maybe I have to be more chill about people finding their own way. We had a meetup here. We did some e-commerce meetups yesterday, and there's always these new people. The Chiang Mai, where I am, is also kind of a digital nomad hub where a lot of kind of newbies come. It's kind of got the newbie brand where people kind of come off the plane from their old lives to find their new life. And it's fascinating. It's really fascinating. Like, hey, I've been in here 3 days, 5 days. It's crazy. Like they left behind their old life, but not a lot stay, right? And somewhat I've seen them go back quite a few times. And so maybe I'll ask you like what it's not failure, right? I don't want to say that they failed, but maybe they still have to find their own way. Yeah, what would you say to that? It's like maybe
Perspective really helped take away the edge of the sword of reality. Yeah. So failure really, and when like I was speaking with someone yesterday and I was explaining, the person was telling me how challenging it is where they're currently working. And she was expressing how challenging it is. And then one of the things I do now is storytell. I'm not saying, well, you should stay because there's so many things that you can gain from. Like, I don't do that, right? Like, I storytell. And I'm telling the story of years after. So I've left the company that I was working at. It's been 6 years now, almost 6 years, yeah. And but the lessons I learned from the challenging experiences that I've been able to actually make money from are the ones that I thought I couldn't live through, right? Or as like the 2-year-old child having a tantrum, right? Like screaming. But those are the things that people actually pay for to learn how to fix. So yeah, failure is really perspective, yeah. And I've had that. I've had the opportunity because the concept of age brings wisdom, right? Like that's always thrown around, right? But I can agree today. I'm only 41 at the time of this recording.
nice.
But to put things into perspective, I'm 41, but I've listened to thousands of people like tell their story, yeah? So those are all parts of my wisdom library building process. And I've realized that yeah, it's really not failure, but if your perspective isn't prepared or if there isn't a plan for what you do with failure when it comes, then it stays as failure and you don't get to like the concept of molding clay, right? If like you get to put the thing on the spinning thing and you mold it. If you've not seen Ghost, well, I'm dating myself, but Ghost has the picture of that being done, right? But when you can just add water and recreate the thing again. And in life, once we have life, there's that opportunity, yeah. Like add water with cement, it was similar to, right? There's cement that fails. Like we test using ASTM standards, or I tested using ASTM standards, And cement failed when it couldn't get back its moldability when you added water. Yeah. So if it couldn't, or if it's set too fast, and when it's set, if it couldn't be softened again, it was a failure.
Yeah.
And I think in life, with the businesses I've done, it's been that, yeah. If it hardens too fast and it's not able to be broken down and built again, yeah, I've failed.
Got it. Interesting. Yeah, I guess it's I feel engineering or technical here, but and related to life. But yeah, it's I have similar thoughts. My favorite is diamonds in coal, right? Like diamonds are built under pressure, I believe. Maybe you could I don't know if you have more technical insights on that, but the idea is I try to even tell my team or myself when I'm under pressure, that's when I'm growing. If I'm not under pressure, I'm not growing, right? And
Love that.
of course, it's just like going to the gym or Michael Jordan. There's that famous quote from Michael Jordan. It's like, I'm going to mess it up a little bit, but it's basically, I failed over and over and over again. I've took the winning shot and missed over like X times. I've, let down my team this many times. But he says, but because of that is why I succeed. It's a pretty powerful one, but we have to push our limits. If we're not, we're staying in our comfort zone or a comfort pit. And this has been, I'm really happy, Angela, to have you on this show. And identity, I think finding your identity is this topic, and you've been a great guest. And
Thank you.
I think we'll start to wrap up. And of course, how can people find you? You have your 12-minute convos. We'll link it in the show notes for your podcast. Is there other businesses or other projects you'd like to shout out or mention?
No, the podcast is cool. One of the things I'll add that has come from the podcast is the ability to take someone's story and create a book from it. Yeah. So you can get that at selfpublisheasily.com. So that's the other thing that I'll plug in there. Yeah.
Okay. Selfpublisheasily.com. Great. I'm writing it down. I'll also link to that free PDF of Zig Ziglar. I'll find it. And
yeah, that's cool.
This has been great, Angel. So have a great day. Let's definitely keep in touch, and I appreciate always connecting with content creators and creators as you are. So have a great day ahead, and we'll have a great year in 2025. It's a great way to get it started.
Yeah. Thanks for having me.
Great. Do you enjoy the podcast Global from Asia? Do you enjoy all the community events that we do? The best way to support is coming out to our annual Cross-Border Summit.com in Chiang Mai this November 3rd, 4th, and 5th, 2025. I have amazing speakers, amazing people getting together. We're pushing the limits. We're making things happen. This is where the movers and shakers and the deal makers come. It's a limited supply of attendees and tickets, and we have been selling out every year. So I recommend checking it out earlier, crossbordersummit.com. All right. Thank you so much for sharing. I hope everybody enjoyed that. 457 shows. He's got me way beat, though. He's doing a lot of them, even though I started way a bit earlier in 2013 with Global from Asia. But we're chugging along, trying to keep these every couple of weeks. And we always have something action-packed. Actually, today when the show is live, we're recording a live webinar about AI agents, and we had some sessions about it. I had some questions and input for that. We're also incorporating that lot into our Cross-Border Summit 2025 this November. We have a mastermind in Hua Hin, Thailand. We're about 8 people, really small and knit, but it's going to be in all of our lives. And of course, here in cross-border trade and e-commerce, it's going to be even more important for us. So you can check out some stuff I've done, and we will be having some cool shows coming up about AI and blockchain and the future of e-commerce and cross-border trade. That's my passion. And you got to keep an open mind, especially in today's environment. You can't stay to the old way. So I hope you enjoy, and thanks again for watching. Mike here at Global from Asia, signing off.
To get more info about running an international business, please visit our website at www.globalfromasia.com. That's www.globalfromasia.com. Also, be sure to subscribe to our iTunes feed. Thanks for tuning in.